Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today's guest has a story that many people quietly relate to, not just myself, but I'm sure lots of people. After years of being bullied, his confidence, self-esteem, and social skills were deeply affected. At one point, he found himself at a breaking point. At one point, he found himself at a breaking point, but instead of giving up, he chose growth. Over the next decade, through trial and error, he rebuilt himself piece by piece. Today, Maikel Michiels dedicates his life to teaching personal development lessons that actually work in real life, rooted in understanding how the mind works and applying practical tools that create lasting confidence. Michael, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here and to be able to share this. So thank you very much for the invite.
Oh, thank you so much. So, Michael, before we kick things off, on my podcast, I and my audience, we usually try to get to know our guests, beyond their expertise, beyond their accolades, and beyond their achievements. We try to get to know them as a person. So please, can you tell us more about yourself?
Yeah, of course. My name is Michael. I'm 32 years old right now from the Netherlands. And for me, at my core, what is truly important to me is growth. That is literally one of the most central things that are closest to my heart. And like you just said in the intro a little bit, we're going to dive deeper into that later on. But I've
Yes.
been bullied. I've been broken down into that like billion piece Lego set. And from there
Wow.
on, I had to rebuild myself. That's why I chose to always keep learning. That's why I chose to always keep growing. And that's something that even in my spare time is something that I actually enjoy doing now. Beyond that, I play sports. There's a sport called korfball here in the Netherlands, but it's not very widely known literally
Oh,
anywhere except Netherlands and Belgium.
oh,
It's
wow.
yeah, it's kind of like closest to basketball, but still with some different rules. Like, don't even get me started on explaining everything. We're gonna be here the entire day.
Oh, wow.
But the
Okay.
thing is, like, I still, strive for that normal life, the better life. That's something that I think we all have. And for me, that started with personal growth, and that started with just discovering who am I really. So that's why I love coming on these kinds of podcasts, sharing my story, sharing some of the lessons, and something that I find very crucial.
That's so wonderful, Michael. Once again, it's such a pleasure to meet you. And thank you for coming on my podcast to share your wisdom, your insights, and of course, your story. So, my first question for today is when bullying affected your confidence, what was the hardest internal battle you were fighting at the time?
I would think that at some point you gotta start believing them. You start believing them over the other voices inside of your own mind, the voices that tell you that you are good enough. Because what I believe truly is that nobody, not a single person on this planet, is born without confidence. There's no baby coming out of the womb like, don't look at me. I'm too insecure. I'm too shy.
Yes,
Right?
I agree. I
There's
agree
no small
100%.
child. They are curious. They are excited. They're just walking, running balls of energy and joy. But then things happen. Things happen in our lives that take that confidence and it gets broken. Or it just leaves us temporarily, or we just cannot access it because of the experiences that we have, especially with being bullied. But maybe it is also with your parents, where you felt like you weren't good enough yet, or those kinds of things. When they happen, those voices take over a part of your mind. And the worst part about it is that for sometimes we start believing them. And I
Oh,
think that
wow.
this voice that we are good enough gets drowned out and we lose part of ourselves in that process.
I totally agree with you, Michael, because I myself, I believe at some point most, if not all of us, have been a victim, of this. We get to a point in our lives where we are kind of beaten down badly, if possible. Like our self-esteem is destroyed, if you will, to the point where you even start limiting yourself by yourself without they begin the process, then you eventually continue it yourself. And I love the fact that you are making this known to people because most people don't know. Sometimes it would even be in a scenario like this where the person that, you know, kind of did that bullied you, destroyed your confidence, has already left your life, probably even left the vicinity, but you will still be there beating yourself down, bringing down your confidence or whatever is left of it, destroying it the more, which is honestly quite sad. That's why that internal battle needs to be fought, and you need to make sure that you win it and understand that whatever is happening in the world, because you cannot control what happens in the world, you cannot control how people treat you, but you can definitely control how you react to their treatment. So you can either continue to beat yourself up or you can stop, pause, think about it. Just like I love the perspective you gave. No child comes into this world timid, afraid, and scared. They come to the world with a certain level of curiosity that even an adult cannot understand. But it's just like as they begin to grow up, because of the external surroundings, they tend to lose that confidence and that curiosity. But try to think about that. Draw some kind of inspiration or wisdom from that. I understand that yes, this happened to me, and I understand. But how I react to what happened to me is definitely my responsibility, and my reaction should be to my own benefit. And thank you so much for that, Michael. So
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
said yes, you said understanding the mind is the foundation of confidence. What do you think most people tend to misunderstand about how confidence is built?
So first and foremost, I had to just crack a smile when you said that you cannot control the outer circumstances, but you can always control your reactions. I know
Yes,
this is an audio podcast, but behind me right here, I actually have a poster from Marcus Aurelius with the quote,
yes,
"You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize
yes,
this, and you will find strength." So I find that very powerful. I've got that behind me in my room everywhere so that I can remind myself of this. Because
yes,
life, it will throw curveballs. That's for everyone listening here. Things aren't always going to go your way. That
yes.
is just life. The only thing you can do is to take the lessons, take them to heart, and move forward. But to come back to your question, I think the mistake most people make is that we think that we are all in control with our conscious mind. But most people have no control over their subconscious. Most people have maybe heard the term, but I don't understand it. So, to make this simple, what I would encourage yourself and your listeners to do, whenever you find any kind of resistance, ask yourself why that is. Because we are being programmed by a lot of the content and the quick tips and hacks you see on YouTube to
Yes.
go for the question of, I feel I'm in this situation. What do I do next? So, for example, I see this girl, I want to go talk to her, but I'm afraid, I'm scared. The normal response, quote unquote normal, is to then
Yes.
look, okay, what do I say? How do I approach this? What are the three simple steps? But that is not the right question to ask. Instead, ask yourself, why do I feel so hesitant? Where is this feeling coming from? And then you just shut up and you let your mind surface the answers because they are within you.
Oh, wow. 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 That's actually some platinum level wisdom. Thank you so much for that, Michael. Wow.
Yeah, you're
That's
welcome.
that's that's some platinum level wisdom. So, most people have been trying to build, I've been trying, most people try motivation first. Why do you think motivation fails without understanding?
That's a good question. So, motivation is usually fleeting, at least in the way where most people use it.
Yes.
It is just the rah, 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 the Tony Robbins kind of thing where you just hype yourself up.
Yes.
And that works for a couple of minutes, hours, maybe days at most. But there is actually one kind of motivation that does work. And that comes from the word itself, motive. In
Yes.
other words, why are you doing the things that you're doing? Why is it important to you? Because, like I said, life is going to throw those curveballs at you. Problems are going to crop up. And if you don't know exactly what you want to do, why you're doing it, and why you must push through those difficulties, you have no shot. Motivation is going to run out at some point, willpower is going to run out. And so you need to have that strong internal reason why you must break through. I'm not sure if that's exactly the answer to your question, but I think
It
it's
is
the
actually.
most important thing that you need in order so that you can be consistent, so that you can be disciplined. That
Yes.
all starts with knowing why you're doing it.
Yes. Actually, it actually answers the question, honestly, because it's how you broke down what the word motivation means. You said motive. You need to have a motive. That motive leads to action, as opposed to just walking off hype, where you know what, I'm pumped. After what this guy told me, I think I'm going to get this work done. And like you explained, probably maybe for some hours, maybe even some days, you might actually still have that motivation. But eventually, you get tired because you're just walking up hype as opposed to walking up motive, which will lead you to consistently take that action because there's a motive towards the action you are taking or you've been taking. And like you explained, it's essentially just working with a motive that will lead you to carry out an action. So I wanted to ask you, you mentioned rebuilding bit by bit. What were the first practical habits that helped you regain stability?
So back in the day, I was probably 15-ish, 16 maybe. Back
Oh
then,
wow.
it was literally just watching videos or podcasts or reading blogs that were a thing back then.
Yeah.
And that gave me the sense that I was moving forward. Because the worst thing that you can do when you're in a terrible situation is to not do anything or to let things get worse. Because that's when you get depression. That's when you get more and more anxiety. Those are signals from our mind and our body that we're not moving forward in the right direction. So just by watching the videos, even though I didn't like take actual action with this, they still gave me the sense that I was getting out of there, that I was moving forward. So this all starts with small steps. I'm not sure what that is for you or for your listeners. However, if you can make those small changes, maybe instead of watching Netflix after dinner, you just go for a walk to improve your health. Or maybe instead
Yes.
of just doom scrolling, you read even 5 pages or 10 pages of a book that actually inspires you, that helps you to learn new things. That gives you this idea that you have grip on your life, on your future, that you can actually make change. And I think that that feeling, we call it hope, that
Wow.
feeling is what pushes us through. So you start with something small where you can see yourself moving to a better version. And before that, you first need to, of course, get clear on where you're heading, at least directionally. And then
Yes.
you start making those small things that get you from point A to point B.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. Wonderful advice, Michael. And I agree with you. And what I'm going to add before I move on to the next question is this simple statement where, they say little drops of water are what makes a mighty ocean. So essentially, those little habits, those small habits, those bit by bit building would actually help you get to a point where you would actually regain your stability and be able to function properly in whatever your pursuits are. So how do you
Well,
think discipline okay. So how do you think discipline and confidence kind of connect? Can you like break it down for us?
discipline and confidence, they definitely connect and they strengthen each other.
Yes.
Because the more confident you feel, the easier it is to take action and to be disciplined. Because I can take even the most confident person on the planet. If I put him up high up in a circus tent, in front of a tightrope, if I remove the safety net and I tell him to walk across,
Oh,
he will still feel terrified of that
yes,
because he's
yes,
never done it.
definitely.
He's never taken those steps. He's never gotten the skills so that he knew that he could do that. However, if the same person has done it 1,000 times before, probably with a safety net, then he's not going to feel so insecure. He's just going to do it. So the more confident you are that you can get to a certain outcome, the easier it becomes to take action. But it works the
Yes,
other way around as well. When you discipline yourself, when you start taking action, you can say at the end of the day, you can rest your head on the pillow and think, I am proud of myself. I am proud of what I did today. And that builds your confidence. Because confidence, at the end of the day, if we want to make this as simple as possible,
yes,
confidence simply means the trust in yourself. So for this, I'm actually creating a free training right now that will probably be online by the time this audio goes live about
yes,
the straight line confidence system, where you want to make your word golden again. Meaning, every single day, just make one promise to yourself. Only one. One thing that you will do today. And then when you go throughout your day, you make sure it happens. And
yes,
you reflect back upon it. And you say to yourself, look, I freaking did it. I showed up for myself. I did the
yes,
thing. I can trust myself. I keep my word. And that creates more confidence every single day. But that is when what happens when you go through the system and you actually start doing the things that you say that you want to do. You start
yes,
showing up for yourself. And that's the connection between discipline and confidence. Because when you
confidence.
have the two together, you become unstoppable.
Wow, 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 wow. I love that so much. It reminds me of someone. I can't remember his name right now, but I think you should know him. He's this famous climber that climbs, he scales different kinds of structures and mountains. He recently climbed the tallest building. Is it in Taipei in Asia? I don't know what, I think it's Taipei, or I can't remember the exact name, but it's a very tall structure. And he climbs without any safety harness or any safety equipment, just with his bare hands and sheer power of will. And honestly, he had an interview with an interviewer, and he was asked the question that isn't he ever afraid of dying? Where does all this confidence come from? He said, well, he tries to always stay disciplined. This was the first word he said. He makes sure that he's always fit, he exercises, he's always strong, and he's always practicing. He said he has a kind of contraption in his house where he kind of practices his climbing techniques and all. So he's always kind of disciplined, walking, practicing, perfecting his climbing prowess, which kind of like makes him more confident, if you will, like you explained. So essentially, when you continue to just, do your stuff, continue to execute, continue to do what you want to do or what you've been called to do, your confidence grows along with it. And that's wonderful. Thank you for that, Michael.
Yeah, and thank
So
you for sharing this story as well. Like even you just sharing that, I can feel my
yes.
own heart pounding. Like climbing a building like that without a safety net, it's just unbelievable, even to me,
It's it's
because
my I
yeah,
wouldn't even I wouldn't
I don't have
even
the
do it
skills
for a
for
billion
that.
dollars, honestly. I wouldn't do it for $1 billion for real. I'm serious. I wouldn't try that. So for someone who feels socially awkward or behind in life, what is the first small win you think they should aim for?
That depends on what the goal is, and that is actually the first step. It doesn't matter where you are right now, but it
Yes,
also matters where you want to go. So, for example, with a GPS, you need two things: you need your current location and your future one. So first and foremost, get clear on what it is that you want, that ultimate goal. And then you can
yes,
break it down into smaller chunks. So for example, with social anxiety, like you mentioned, can you maybe stop having earphones in everywhere? And instead of taking the self-checkout at the grocery store, you go to the like the clerk behind the cashier basically. And you can
yes,
say, hey, How's your day going? Like, do you need to still work long hours? Just something very small while you're just putting the stuff in your bags. That can be a
Yes.
very small step, but that will still feel intimidating because it is still one stretch above what you're currently capable of. So find those things and then just try to push yourself a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more outside of your comfort zone. And remember, when you're doing this, your mind is going to come up with a lot of logical excuses. Your mind is going to be kicking and screaming. Your mind is telling you not to do it.
Yes.
However, that's when you have to take the step anyway. And when you can take those small steps in a few days or maybe a few weeks, the small steps, they become simple to you. They become easy. They become the new norm. And now you can
Yes.
take the next step and the next step and the next step. And you can expand it like slowly over time. But just figure out what is the thing I can do right now, today. Break it down to those small chunks, and that becomes manageable. Rather than saying, oh, I'm just gonna speak on a stage of 5,000 people. That's not gonna work because the step from where you are now to where you wanna go is too big. So break it
Yes.
down, and you can do this if you break it down.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Michael. Honestly, since we've been having this conversation, you've been dropping some platinum gold level wisdom. And I really hope that the listeners and the viewers are paying attention and they're taking notes. Now, I want us to focus on you a little bit. I want to ask, what role did self-awareness play in changing your identity and how you see yourself?
I think intention here is the crucial thing because self awareness is required for that. Because how can you build yourself into a person that you can feel proud of when you don't even know what that means to you? When you don't even know
Oh,
where you
wow.
stand currently? Again, just with a GPS example, the same thing goes here. If you don't know basically a story you're telling yourself about yourself,
Yeah.
and you don't know
Yes.
the story that you want to write, then how are you ever going to get there? So, with this, like, let me make this practical because I know this can sound like very woo woo identity, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But just take a few moments every day to just sit in silence. Let your brain come up with anything that wants to come up. And when I say just sit in silence, I mean with no distractions. No phone, no music on, no earphones in. Literally just you and yourself. And when you take those moments of reflection, they're probably gonna feel terrible because your mind is gonna bring up a lot of stuff that you had repressed. But the thing is, we need to get away from all of the noise. Literally, with our phones, we are distracted the entire day. So we are never alone with our thoughts. But that is the crucial thing. That is why
Yes.
people have like these profound moments when they're in the shower. We call them shower thoughts. Because for most people, those are the only moments in their entire day when they can be alone with their thoughts.
Oh,
So
wow.
create that for reflection because that
Yes.
helps you to learn who you are right now and who you want to be and what needs to change in between there.
Yeah, I love that so much. I love the fact that you actually mentioned that people tend not to create time to be with their thoughts. There's always something to distract them. If it's not some Netflix and chill kind of something, it's probably their job, which is fine. You need to go to job, you need to sustain yourself, you need your job for sustenance. But then again, you need to create time where it's just you sitting down, probably, in a park or somewhere you can just sit down and just be in your thoughts, think, check yourself. And that's how you begin to build self-awareness because you're no longer reacting to the world. There's literally nothing to react to. You're just all by yourself, reacting to yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
essentially, yes. So that's it. So I have a set of rapid fire questions I want to ask you. You can either answer with a phrase or a sentence. So the first one is confidence is,
Confidence is the feeling that you can trust yourself 100%, that you do
oh,
what you say you're going to do.
oh wow. I think out of everyone I've ever asked that question, you may be one of the few persons, if not the one person that has defined it correctly. That's wonderful. The
I've struggled
ability,
with it for
confidence.
over a decade, so you learn a few things along the way.
Yes. So I actually love that definition. Confidence is just the ability of trusting yourself, essentially. You just have that. If you're confident, it means you have the ability to trust yourself. Thank you so much for that, Michael. I'm going to run in with that from now on. So the next one is insecurity grows when,
Insecurity grows when you don't move forward on the path that you decide and you let the voices of other people dictate your reality.
wow, 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 wow. It's wonderful. That's some good level stuff. Discipline builds,
Discipline builds confidence and the dream lifestyle that you want because you actually do the things that you said you were going to do 5 years ago.
yes,
That is discipline. That is the ultimate self care.
yes, I agree. 100%. Fear, when someone has fear, what does it mean?
That's a difficult one.
Take your time with it.
Fear means that at some level there is a mental block. Maybe it is a defense mechanism, or maybe it is something that has happened in your past. Because
Yes.
if you never had any negative reinforcement to doing a certain thing, you would do it. So there is something in your past that's holding you back that you need to surface through that reflection we talked about so that you can work on the fear, not on the shallow techniques to get out of it.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Thank you so much for that.
Sorry
So,
if these are too long, by the way.
okay, no, it's perfectly fine. Please, sometimes you may need to expand on some of the questions so that the listeners and I myself too can understand. So my final rapid fire question is personal growth requires,
Personal growth requires an honest look at yourself, which you probably are not going to like at first, but it's the only way to actually grow. Reflection is crucial.
yes. And when someone reflects on themselves, they have to accept some truths about their self that they might find uncomfortable, but then again, that's what it means to grow. Sometimes you have to just be uncomfortable with certain truths about yourself, because that's the only way you can actually change it. And that's in of itself is a good thing. It's not a bad thing, and it's a good thing to look forward to. So my final question before we wrap up for today, Michael, is if someone is listening right now and they feel stuck in a low self-esteem state, what's one practical step they can take this week?
One practical step they can take right now is literally just to break down a goal of theirs into the smallest bit possible. So, for example, if your goal is to go to the gym more consistently, break that down into I'm just going to put on my gym clothing and step outside. And give yourself that gift of proving, not just saying, of proving that you can take steps to benefit your future self. Because ultimately, that is the best form of self love. So give yourself that gift of just taking one step. And even if you step outside in your gym clothing, you can say, at least I went for it. But once you take the first step, the second step becomes easier. So break it down to the smallest bits, focus on those, and let momentum guide you.
Wow. Michael, it's honestly been a pleasure to have you on my podcast. You shared some good platinum level wisdom and insights. Where can my listeners connect with you and learn more about your work?
I think there are two places that are very relevant for this. First and foremost, there's my YouTube channel, just my name, Maikel Michiels. And then for people who are struggling with confidence, we talked a little bit about the straight line confidence system. I've actually created a free workshop where I'm walking
Yeah.
people through that entire system. So that is available at maikelmichiels.com/confidence.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Michael. It's been a pleasure to have you on the platform. Please do have a wonderful day and take care of yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Have a blessed day and a blessed day to anyone who's listening to this as well. Go and take those small steps. You've
Thank you.
you've got this and you're worth it.
Thank you so much, Michael. That was wonderful. Please take care of yourself. Thank you. Bye.